one bolt and one nut. That's all it takes to replace the spring on the Lexus NX, Toyota RAV4, and Toyota Harrier. Hey everyone, for today's video I'm going to show you guys how to change the rear springs on your 2015 to 2021 Lexus NX. The steps should be the same for the 2006 to 2012 RAV4 and the 2013 to 2018 RAV4. It will also be the same for the 2013 to 2018 Toyota Harrier in the Asian markets. All three of these vehicles share the same platform. Now I just finished installing Bilstein B6 monotube front struts, as you can see over here. I also deleted the adaptive suspension system. You can see the plug nicely sealed there, as well as install a custom bump stop stack. If you want to see how that played out, I'll have a link somewhere in a card right about now. But for now, let's get on with this. Once you have the car up in the air, don't forget to slide jack stands underneath the corner jack points. You can see that I've added some pinch hole protectors over here. Those are for the 05 to 2018 Ford Mustangs, and they fit light Toyota vehicles perfectly. By the way, the springs that we're installing today are actually the factory springs. We're taking off these RSR half down since I'll be able to get my roll stiffness from something else. This is an active bump stop for a Jeep Wrangler. What is it doing in a Lexus NX? I'll talk about it in another video, so make sure to watch out for that. One last thing I'd like to point out is that we already have Bilstein B6 monotube shock absorbers here. So our new setup after this job will actually match what we have up front. Changing the rear springs from the Lexus NX is actually very easy. All you have to do is remove this nut and one more bolt and the spring comes right off. I have a 17mm nut on here right now, but if I recall correctly, the factory one is 14mm. You'll need a deep socket wrench to remove this. And in case you want to know, what's connected to the other side of this is a stabilizer link for the sway bar. Voila! Next, you'd want to have a jack under your lower arm. Raise it just enough until you feel resistance. And then with an extended 17mm socket, loosen this bolt right here. If you raise the arm just right, you should feel very little resistance here. Once you have it all the way loose, just yank the bolt out. There you go. Release the jack, and out comes the spring. Okay, when placing a wooden block, you'd want it in line with the spring, not here. I released this, but unfortunately I don't have much room to work with. So I'll have to raise it back again, reinstall the bolt, and move it over there to release the spring. Once that's done, you can move this jack out of the way. Hold down the lower arm. Avoid the brake hose. And get your spring out. Prepping the new spring, or in our case, the old factory spring, is very straightforward. You get this upper isolator. And it has a guide there. All you have to do is follow that guide. Install it like so. And clock the rear spring like this when you install it. The factory service manual says the paint mark should always face the side of the vehicle. If you have an aftermarket lowering spring with no paint mark, this is where the lower end of the spring should terminate, facing 3 o'clock when you're viewing it from the side of the vehicle. I've clocked my rear spring installations incorrectly in the past, and the result of that was torn lower spring isolators, so make sure you follow this guide. This is the lower spring isolator, so you want to install this nice and even on the lower arm. Not sure if you guys can see it clearly on video, but we now have the lower spring isolator nicely centered. It's time to install the spring. But before we do that, I'm gonna say it again. One bolt and one nut. That's all it takes to replace the spring on the Lexus NX, Toyota RAV4, and Toyota Harrier. Okay, kind of a tight fit here. Time to get the spring in. So once again, using your thumb on the left hand, or whichever hand you're comfortable with, hold this down. Make sure the upper insulator is seated properly. Point the lower termination of the rear spring to 3 o'clock. Slowly let it start settling. Once the spring's seated, just make sure the lower isolator didn't clap to one side. Didn't shift to one side, I mean. Once everything's in order, you can go ahead and jack the lower arm back up. Once you have the holes lined up, insert your bolt. And using the extension, wiggle it around to help it find its way home. You may have to lift the lower arm a little more. Yep, there you go. Got our trusty little ratchet. Finally, torque it to 80 foot-pounds. There you go. Reinstall the other nut. Don't forget the bush. I'll have the torque spec for this one up in the screen for you guys, but as for me, since I have a bunch of other stuff done to this car, I just leave around 10 millimeters of thread beyond the nut, which I'll fix later once I finish doing the other side. And there you go. Everything we just did for the left side, do it for the right side, and you're done. If you found this video helpful, please do consider subscribing to my channel. I hope you enjoy watching my other DIY videos. Thank you for staying till the end. I'll see you next time.